Hi, Rona. Oh, did you get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Rona. Thank you for being here with me today.
Hi, Sheryl. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So tell us a bit more about yourself and about how you got started on the healing arts path.
Oh, how long do we have here? So I got started on the healing arts path about 5 years ago. It was a big shift and a big pivot for me from what I was doing before, professionally. But I came to a point in my life where a few different, like a confluence of different things, forced me to just stop and take a pause and go into stillness really for a couple of months. I had one of my oldest friends passed away kind of suddenly from cancer. And I also had a sports injury that wouldn't go away. And I was just wrapping up a business partnership with a friend and a few other just different things in my life forced me to really reassess and really turn inward for a minute. I'm a mom and a wife, and involved with various things, and just needed. I felt the need to just let everything kind of quiet down so I can listen to myself. So I started meditating a lot again. Meditation had always been a part of my life, but I wasn't doing it consistently at the time. But I just felt like I needed to sit and meditate. So I started meditating. I started going to meditation classes and studios again, and really just sitting in the stillness, which was kind of uncomfortable. And also, especially since I had an injury in my body, it wasn't super comfortable to just sit and be, but I just felt like that's what was needed at the time. So I did that, and in the stillness and the quiet and the discomfort, I started getting messages that what I was doing before, which I actually did like, I was in marketing and business and had my own little consultancy and had worked for startups and nonprofits and the whole gamut, corporate also in my younger years. And I liked it. I liked doing marketing and communications and kind of operations of a small business. But it just started to feel not completely aligned for me. And so in the meditation and the stillness, I started getting messages that I need to lean into um, these whispers that were calling me to go into kind of a spiritual exploration. And and so I did that, and I started remembering that my whole life I was like kind of intrigued by spiritual healing and energy, and I know that for myself as a recipient, in my 20s I had um, an energy healer, like a spiritual energy healer, that I went to like every week. I had sessions with her. This was up in San Francisco, and this served as kind of like my version of therapy. So it was both, in speaking and talking with her, and also the energy work that served as, what for others, people go to therapy. But for me, this energy spiritual healing practitioner was a therapist in a sense. And so as I was going through my stillness, I started hearing these whispers and calls to kind of go back into that. And it's not to say that I hadn't tried to find healers and things along the way in my more recent years, but I started hearing it as, this is what you're supposed to do. This is what, your path is coming to. And as I was saying, I was starting to go to meditation studios and seeing some teachers and gurus, and they were delivering kind of the same message to me. So I felt like there's something here. If I'm getting these insights and whispers, and these intuitives around me are getting similar messages for me, there's something here. And once I accepted that and was kind of clear that, yes, even though it's weird and kind of like different and woo woo, um, I need to explore it and lean into it. Really, there was no turning back. I um, I started taking some classes, and I became really like hooked on these classes. Like I took Reiki, a Reiki 1 and 2 class, and at the same time I took an intuitive reader class, intuitive energy healing, and then a meditation teacher training course, and sort of all really like a couple at the same time, and then in like close succession. So over 2 years, I really just, became a student again and wanted to learn all the things. And it was almost like maybe a little too much all at once. I mean, each teacher told me, just take this class and then decide if when you're ready for the next one. But I was just a sponge, and I wanted to absorb and take it all in at once. So it was pretty intense. And luckily, um, my husband and my son were really supportive, and that was nice. And I just threw myself into it, and that's how I made that pivot and that shift to the healing arts. And this is what I practice and what I do for my work now,
That,
for the last few years.
that's so beautiful. And what I love is that you didn't let y- your past or what you were doing prevent you, or your age, or like, oh, I've done this for so long, how can I go into something else, or your fears stop you, and you went into that meditative state and into that silence, which a lot of people, it can be challenging to do that, because we're so used to the monkey mind and all the voices in our heads that is just keep talking all day. And when you allow that stillness to come and quiet, that's when you can, I feel like, bring in other information and download, and be able to uh, see things differently and get bigger messages and
Absolutely.
with more
Yes.
quality.
Yes, and I totally agree. It's a little scary, and you really have to trust. And I feel really lucky and blessed that I did, because I truly feel that now I'm in my purpose, and
Yes.
and that stillness and that sort of challenging time really led me to it. And it's not to say that like it hasn't been, hard, and it's a little bit lonely on that path too, because people know you in those other roles, and professionally and even personally. And when you make such a big shift and a pivot, like a lot of people, energies, things that you're used to kind of fall off your path and off your out of your life a little bit, like the universe removes them so you can make room for the new things
Yes.
to come in, the new energies, and make time and energy for this new path that you're on. So so there's a lot of discomfort in it, but um, if you sit through it and you trust, um, I mean, at least for me, but I believe for others too, it's so worth it on the other side to actually lean into and trust in those whispers to meet or unearth your purpose.
I love that. And I feel like when we get too comfortable staying where we are, we don't have as much growth. So being okay with that discomfort
Hmm.
allows you to grow even more. And so I love that.
Absolutely.
And what inspired you to start doing sound baths?
Yeah. So among the different healing modalities that I started to lean into and study and practice was sound healing. And this was actually the one training, the one in-person last one that I did pre-COVID. So as I mentioned, I had taken a pretty intense meditation teacher's course and Reiki and intuitive energy healing and all these things over a couple of years. And really the final one that I took in January 2020 was sound healing, because I started going to sound baths here in LA and just loved them. And I was like, I want to learn how to do that too, because it all, it's all connected. The energy healing, sound healing, it's all really about vibration and energy. And so I took a training in sound healing, and I loved it. And then I started doing sound baths together with my teacher and some other students in person, and it was lovely and fun. And I got my set of bowls, of crystal singing bowls, and I just loved playing them. And then COVID hit, and all of a sudden the world kind of turned upside down, and we all went into a bit of isolation and quarantine. And I had previously started doing my one-on-one sessions with clients in giving Reiki and energy healing and some intuitive sessions. But when COVID hit, we couldn't see anyone, and we couldn't have anyone in our home, and so for a while, everything just stopped, and it was a big bummer because I had just started building my practice. But then after a few months, I was like, I gotta start bringing something back, both for my own well-being and because I wanted to share. I mean, I had studied all these healing modalities and was starting to practice them and felt so aligned with it, but for about 6 months, I couldn't share them. And so I started thinking, what can I do that's still safe within the bounds of COVID and everything? And I decided I'm going to share a sound bath. I'm going to just invite a few friends to my backyard outside. We were all masked and distanced. There were only I think there were only 6 or 7 girlfriends there. And I just said, hey, I know some of you don't know what a sound bath is. I explained what it is. And I said, I invited them to come. And they came, and and I had my bowls out, and everyone laid down on their yoga mats in my backyard. And I played my first sound bath when I definitely was nervous and probably wouldn't have done that if it weren't for COVID. I wouldn't have felt ready enough. And but as I was mentioning, because there was it was such a limiting time, and I couldn't share my any other like healing modalities the way I wanted to. I just said, just take a chance. I mean, these are just good friends. If you're not perfect, it's okay. It'll be okay. And I did it, and I played a sound bath, and they all loved it. Everyone relaxed and felt the healing. And it was a time where, I mean, we always need healing and nourishment for our soul, but especially during COVID, it was so essential for people to just take a few minutes to breathe and turn inward and let go of some of the noise and media and fear, and just be in and a relaxing, healing space, and also to be in some semblance of community again, even though we were just, 7 people in the backyard with masks on. Like, it felt nice to be together again. So from that one sound bath, I started doing more, inviting those same friends and a couple others. And then they would ask, can I bring my husband or my kids or, friends? And so I started just playing those. And it has been such a blessing for me to share that stuff. And then, from what people say, they love it and they keep coming back. So in a weird way, that was one of the silver linings of the pandemic for me, for my practice, for sharing, healing, and for my community, I think.
I love that story. And it reminds me of my first experience in a sound bath. And it was before the pandemic. And it was in a room. And they put on these beautiful blue lights. And it looked like that you were kind of like in the water with the lights they were putting up on the ceiling. And I took my husband with me, and it was so beautiful. It really feels like you're in this, it is like a bath of love and
Yes.
safety, and just these beautiful vibrations going through not only not only from hearing them, but through your body. And it was just such an amazing experience. And that from there, I got hooked, where I was like, I want to do this again. And so, how, in your words, how do sound baths affect us? What benefits do they have?
Yeah, so many. So essentially, a sound bath impacts our whole self. So the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And as I say to people when they come, each sound bath, sound healing experience is different. It's different for each person, but it's also different every time you participate, you go. But essentially, it relaxes the body, calms the mind, clears the subconscious, and activates our natural healing and immune systems in the body. So as I said, it kind of like addresses the whole of us. And on sort of a bit of a scientific explanation, what it does, it activates our parasympathetic nervous system. So it takes us out of our fight or flight or freeze response, which is how we're kind of operating most of the time, unfortunately. And during a sound bath, much like in meditation, if you can get to a meditative state, you're going into the rest and repair mode of the nervous system. So activating that part that allows you to really relax and allows for a rebalancing and regenerating, nourishing, and healing of the body and the mind and the emotions and the spirit.
Mhm.
So it's just a super, super relaxing, but also, as you mentioned, it's beyond even the sounds. I mean, the sounds are usually relaxing and harmonious, but sometimes there's dissonance, and some of that is on purpose because, like with most healing modalities, um, you have to get through some layers, and that can be a little uncomfortable. But if you allow, and also just on a cellular level, the vibrations go inward and permeate not just your consciousness, but the subconscious and the cellular level and the organs, it brings you to a healing and repair state, which is super beneficial on every level.
I love that. And I didn't know about all of that. So you educated me too now.
Yeah, and
Uh,
as I always
yeah.
say too, at the end of sound baths, like, you know, people often feel very relaxed, and
Mhm.
sometimes you can have insights and or like go in and out of a dream state, different levels of consciousness. Um, and for some, even experienced sound bathers, there are times when, like, they just couldn't get out of their monkey mind, but hopefully they were able to relax a little. Or if someone's really tired, they might fall asleep and take a nap. But I always say, whatever the experience is, it's for their highest good and highest healing. And I truly believe that, because the sounds, the vibrations, the frequencies are still doing what needs to be done, whether or not we are fully aware of it.
Yes, absolutely. I agree. And you also do Reiki healing. Can you explain that to our audience? Not everybody knows what that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Reiki is a healing modality that originated in Japan. And incidentally, I also lived in Japan for 7 years,
Nice.
as in my teens. And Reiki was one of the healing modalities I was drawn to when I decided to kind of dive into the healing arts. So maybe it was a coincidence and maybe not, because I had, you know, been in Japan and love that culture and aesthetic. But anyways, Reiki is translated to universal life force, and it's divinely guided universal life force energy, which during a Reiki treatment, we, as a Reiki practitioner, we serve as a conduit and a channel for this life force energy that is actually energy that animates all living beings. Um, and Ki, in the word Reiki, is the same as chi in Chinese medicine, or prana in Sanskrit. And basically, it's the energy that animates us. And in a treatment, in a Reiki healing treatment, what we're doing is we're channeling this energy to unblock and rebalance the energy within the body. So, different things can cause stagnation or blocks within our ki, or our life force energy. And during a healing session, we're simply channeling that energy to unblock and realign and recalibrate, reset us to our optimal energetic state. And when we're in that state, similar to, when we can really meditate and release our monkey mind, or be in a sound bath and completely release and relax, healing can happen. And in Reiki, that universal life force, Reiki energy, also has its own intelligence. So whether we know what our issue is, whether it's physical or emotional or something else that's causing trauma or discomfort or dis-ease, Reiki energy with its own intelligence flows to those places and helps to heal them. So same with any healing modality, each treatment, each session can be very different. I've had clients have massive breakthroughs and realizations about things from their childhood, old trauma, generational things, and also releasing pain from their body inexplicably, or we understand the Reiki is doing that. So it's and on the surface level, it's also super relaxing and nourishing and just soothing. So yeah, I love sharing that healing modality too.
Wonderful. We've done retreats together, where our friend Fairy teaches yoga, you do the sound baths, I do the art. What impact do you think these modalities have on our creativity? I know because, I've done the sound baths and I see what impact it has on my creativity. But for yourself, what do you think, how it impacts us?
So I think all of those elements that we've put into our retreats really help our participants and us tap into our authentic self. Um, with Fairy's beautiful yoga sequences, followed by sound bath, we're connecting to both the body and our soul and spirit. And then your art class and the way you just gently guide people into that space with your beautiful meditation. Um, I think it really opens people up, and I think that creativity flows most easily when we're tapped into our unique, authentic self and our intuitive self. And I think in sort of connecting with the body through yoga, connecting with the soul and the spirit through a sound bath, your meditation and your like really gentle guidance, because I know a lot of people, especially adults, like who are not artists, have a little bit of a fear, or they've forgotten how to create art, or we just think we're not good at it. Like I know
Yes.
I had that little like reaction or insecurity when you said you'll do the art class too, and I was like, really? Like I'm not so good at that. But I think having that whole sequence of um opening the body, opening the soul and the spirit, and tapping in intuitively into ourselves really helps us to let go of some of the insecurities and fears, and let our creativity flow, because I'm sure I you tell us all, we can all be creative,
Yes.
and we all have it somewhere in us, and it's just
Mhm.
kind of releasing some of those blocks and insecurities that allows for the creativity to flow.
Yeah, I agree. And in my experience, when I would do yoga with Fairy years ago, afterwards I would feel so inspired because not only was she doing the yoga, but she had music, and I love music and sound. And then afterwards I would talk to her, and then, I would ask her, will you model for me and do these yoga poses? I want to paint them, I want to take pictures. And then that went into doing body art. And I feel that started from doing these yoga classes, because I would have these images and, you know, I guess again, like those downloads that would come to me during the class while we were doing the flows, the vinyasa flow. And then, when I started working with you and we were doing the retreats and I was able to enjoy the yoga and sound bath, and the combination of that, it was like this power booster, like where, like you said, your mind, body, and spirit, like it just helps inspire and guide and increase the creativity. That was how I felt. And I feel it does help unblock people and kind of bring down the nerves of, oh, I can't do this, or I'm afraid, or, to create something new. It makes it easier. What I've noticed than like jumping into the art class right away. Um,
Yes. Yes.
so it's been so beautiful working with you. And, of course, with Fairy, I've been working with her for years, but it's been such a nice addition to have you there. And
Mm.
the retreats have been magical. Like,
Yes, for sure. And thank
yeah,
you so much. I feel like touching back on something I said earlier, like in sort of embracing a new path and everything, like can be, a little challenging and lonely. And, certain people who knew you as, doing what you were doing or being who you were being before sometimes have a hard time or just are not aligned anymore with like the new path and your new being self. But new people come in and aligned opportunities and experiences um, come to fruition. And I think that a friend introducing me to with you and Fairy was really one of those like beautiful divine alignments and connections on this new path that I'm on. And you guys have been doing it your things a little longer maybe, um it's one of those blessings that came with leaning into what I feel is my purpose and what I am doing. And then from that, we create things that an experience for other people, experiences for people. Um, and I feel it's so magical and so beautiful. And I'm so excited about our upcoming
yes,
um, experience retreat that we're doing for an organization that supports and helps women living with cancer.
yes,
Um, uh, living foundation for living beauty.
yeah,
And to me, that's just like the epitome, being able to share all of our healing modalities with people who are truly going through, really, really challenging times, is such a gift. And I'm so happy that I get to do that with you and with Fairy. It's
absolutely. Us too. I'm looking forward to that, and I know it's going to be wonderful. So, do you have any words of wisdom for our audience and finding their true purpose in their life?
mm, wisdom. I mean, what I would say is give yourself time in stillness. There are so many distractions these days, and they are so tough to quiet down. But even if just starting with like a 5 minute just sitting and breathing in peace and stillness will begin to let you hear the whispers of your soul. I truly believe that, and it might take some time. And so I would recommend being patient. And if you can't sit still, then even just a solo walk, maybe without your phone. I mean, I know it's hard, or maybe with just some music that doesn't necessarily have lyrics that you're listening and absorbing, but allowing your spirit to speak and your soul and your higher self to come through. And I think really some quiet and stillness is needed for that. And I know it's hard, and I know that um, together with all the things in our lives, social media really steals a lot of our stillness and
Yes.
peace. Um, but to have a little discipline to just give yourself that gift of peace and serenity and stillness, w- you will start to hear the whispers, and just listening to them, and then even if it's a little strange or weird, taking inspired action the on those whispers. And it doesn't mean you have to like quit your life and quit your job and move to a desert island or anything, but um to to listen and to explore, and to be gentle with all of that, and yeah, just take baby steps, but do take them, because the reward is amazing. And you know and maybe there isn't just one purpose, but to find a calling for a time um is incredible. And if you can truly find your purpose or unearth it, I mean, it's there, it's just it gets bogged down, is a blessing. And I
Yes.
really, really wish it on everybody to
Yeah.
find it.
Me too. And I just love that, hearing the whispers of your soul. I always talk about it that way too. Um, you just hear this whisper. And when I interviewed Fairy, she said the same thing. She kept getting these whispers, these nudges to go into teacher training for yoga,
Mm,
and it wouldn't stop coming. So when you get that nudge, that whisper, go do this, go do, and it keeps coming to you, just take action.
mhm.
And you never know what might come out of it. I've seen so many people who they just took that next step. And then sometimes it might not be what you thought of, and but you have the choice to do something else. It's not like that's it. If you make this decision, and I think a lot of people get trapped in that, like, oh my gosh, if I do this, it'll take so much of my time. And what if it doesn't work out? But what if it does work out? What if you learn something from it? What if you gain a friend from it? What if um, someone leads you into an even better path? Or who knows? Like, the
Yeah.
possibilities are endless.
Mhm.
So just jump in, do it, and then see what
Yeah, and let
unfolds.
go of some of the
Expectation.
perfectionism that
Yes,
I feel like a lot of us have.
100%.
Um, I mean, I still have it, but I feel like the times when I let it go a little bit, like when I wasn't ready to do my own sound bath, and I did because I was afraid it wouldn't be great and would be perfect, and what will people say, and um, but I did it anyway, and
Did it anyway. Yeah.
um, I feel like it wasn't perfect, but it was good enough, and it helped me take the next step, and it also, was helped other people in the
Yeah.
process. So that's something I'm still working on, and actually being on this podcast was letting go of a little bit of that too, because this is the first one I've done. I've had a couple of other friends ask me to be on their podcast, but I've been putting them off, but I knew you were amazing at it, so I just said yes.
I'm
And I
honored.
know it's not perfect, and I'm sure you're gonna have to edit out some pieces, but I'm glad I did.
Yay.
And I
Celebrate.
hope
Let's
others do
celebrate.
too.
I love it. So, where can people find you? Where can they, if they're in the Los Angeles area, maybe
Mhm,
take a class with you?
mhm. Okay, so I am most active, I think, on Instagram, and I'm at Rona Rodrig, RonaRodrig. I also have a website, but I am currently revamping it, and it's ronarodrig.com. And I think, yeah, you can just message me on Instagram. And I don't put all of my events and offerings on there, but if you message me, I will add you to my distribution list. And I do backyard sound baths once or twice a month. I also do private events where I'll like go play a sound bath at other people's backyards or events. I've played at schools, high schools, where, you know, high school students these days are super stressed.
Yeah.
It's a great, you know, it's great to introduce them to sound healing, which is a pretty accessible healing modality. And it's been amazing to play for some high school juniors and seniors and help them relax a little bit. So I do that kind of stuff. And then private Reiki sessions are out of my home office practice in Brentwood in LA. And you can also reach out to me on Instagram for to ask about those. And then I also, I mean, energy travels. So I do Zoom and online sessions as well. So you don't have to be in Los Angeles to
Yes.
connect.
Wonderful. Thank you for being here with me today, Rona. And it's just been such a pleasure getting to know you. And through this, I got to know you better. I know we've known each other for um, a few months now. And I just love working with you. I love talking with you. I love your energy. And you're just such a wonderful soul. And I'm honored that you're here with me and we work together and we have this friendship now. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. It's been such a pleasure. And thank you for making me feel comfortable and your questions. And I know this getting to know each other and being introduced and everything was meant to be. And I'm looking forward to everything we're going to do and create in the future.
Thank you.